Let's see here. Excellent connection. That's good. Okay. Got ourselves a clock ticking. That's good. Now we just gotta wait for this window. YouTube just emailed me to let me know that I'm live. That's weird. Alright. Okay, I think we're all good. Let's see. Let's see, shall we? Let me see here. Got a good day from South Ontario. Gonna be another hot and sweaty one. It's actually quite lovely outside right now. Actually, you'll probably hear a lot of cricket noises because I've opened the windows. Because it is, it's nice. It's supposed to be nice today. Not even supposed to hit 80, which is dope, as the children say. And it's supposed to be clear. We'll see how it goes. Thankfully, it's cold and rainy here in Western Canada. Hopefully, we'll see the end of the forest fires. Well, that would be a good idea. Hello from New Zealand. Let's see here. Central Finland. Just bought Kill Team Elites. Me and my friends are going to stick with the older version. Gotcha. Musselburgh in Scotland. Hello, how you doing? Hello from the Netherlands, working on my catacombs terrain. That sounds like fun. Let's see here. Hello from Madison, Wisconsin. How you doing? Markham, Ontario. Going to be hot and humid again. Hello from the east coast of England. First time live. Well, welcome. Glad to have you. Fatang. Let's see here. Good morning from Georgia. Good morning from Mexico. Been building squads with Wargames Atlantic minis, kit bash with GW arms and heads, and vice versa. Good minis that don't break the bank. Yeah, I've owned a bunch of their stuff. They are going to be releasing some goblins soon too. Wargames Atlantic that I'm thinking about. I have their lizard people, and I have a couple of their like pseudo sci-fi, but not necessarily necessarily sci-fi groups. Like there's one group that looks kind of like they're Napoleonic, but they've got like blaster guns. It's kind of cool. I forget exactly what they're called. Good morning from sunny Wyoming. How you doing, Pro JG? Hot and humid Quebec, working on Relic Blade minis this morning. Nice. Salt Lake City. How you doing? VJ Morph. How you doing? Oddly enough, I get an eBay ad when I came to the stream. That's how the internet works, I think. Another hazy day in Vegas. The temps are headed back up. Gotcha. Good afternoon from Portugal. Smoky Kelowna, BC. Afternoon from France. Curious to hear what Adam has to say about Hammer and Bolter. I didn't watch it. I guess that's what I got to say. I don't know. Morning from New Hampshire. Morning from my delivery route all over London, England. Nice. Muggy Hudson, Illinois. Connecticut as the tropical storm Henry visits us. Oh, that's no good. Hello from England. How you doing? Thought I heard crickets in a good way. Yeah, it's like in movies and stuff like that. The crickets are always, that means nighttime. But at least around by where I live, crickets means not winter. Basically, they run all the time. Good morning from Texas. Good morning from Atlanta, where I'm painting my Stormcast like Space Wolves to get Storm Wolves. Nice. South Yorkshire. Greetings from York. Don't tell my boss. I won't. Mid-70s right now, but supposed to be over 100 today. Boo. That's no fun. I mean, unless you're into that kind of stuff, but I don't know. I'm not. Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. New Zealand. Finally, it's cooling down, says Rogues Part 2. Yeah, like I said, it's been real hot and muggy here lately, and so today, like, I took Diesel outside for a little constitutional little walk around out in the driveway and stuff like that just before the show, and I walked outside and I was like, oh, it's not like a gross slap in the face this morning. That's nice. So that's when I came in and opened the windows. Let's see here. Oh, I'm way behind. Ever thought of having a co-host on a Sunday morning show? I did. I had Sam on here one time, and it didn't go well because we were talking to each other and we weren't talking to you folks so much. And so, yeah, that's why we shouldn't be doing that again. Hello from Germany. Printed the rules from one-page rules yesterday. Really cool game. Yeah, I've been looking at it myself, as a matter of fact. Good evening from Qatar. How you doing? Hello from Yokohama. Too damn hot here. Oh, that's no fun. Morning from Nicaragua. Sunny Winnipeg, working on my Griffin. Rutland, the smallest county in England. Nice. Northamptonshire, or Northamptonshire. I always get those confused. I'm a hobby newbie, and I just joined the Warhammer community. Nice. Let's see here. It's cool and humid in my part of Nebraska today. Howdy from Jonesboro, Illinois. Hello again, Blackpool, England. Picked up Underworld's crab and his posse yesterday. People do love the crab. They love that Underworld's crab. I don't think I have the crab. I should definitely try to get the crab. Hello from Florida. Weather feels like a Catachan jungle, but I am good. Working on some troopers from Stargrave for Skirmish Wargaming. I was painting on some Stargrave miniatures yesterday as well, a little bit, on and off. I was also working on, I think I worked a little bit more on terrain yesterday. I was working on some terrain, which I will also use for Stargrave, or for also Space Weirdos, Planet 28, basically anything sci-fi. They're kind of grungy buildings that I'm working on. They're 3D printed by my good friend, Game 4 Matt. I'm pining for several of those War Games Atlantic figures. Have you yet to see them in a local shop? Yeah, I ended up having to order them direct from them because, yeah, I haven't seen them in a local shop, unfortunately, either. Let's see here. Received Infinity Defiance Kickstarter, and I have now 50 plus metal minis to paint. That sounds like a lot of fun. Finally finished my Blitz Bowl Gobos today, just the base rooms to do tonight before bed. Nice. Let's see here. Morning from California. Morning from Fort McMurray, Alberta, just getting off night shift. Nice. Built a Rain and Hell team with a set of miniature business people instead of demons. Named them after former bosses. Nice. That's a good idea. I should be getting in the mail eventually. I should be getting... I basically went on to Etsy, and not eBay, Etsy, and looked for somebody who's 3D printing stuff where I could order from just one person, and I was able to basically order an entire cabal from one person. Well, maybe not an entire cabal. At least the beginnings, like roughly 7 models you generally need to start a cabal. So I did that, although maybe I added more. I don't remember. Anyway, my point is that it will eventually get here, I assume, because as it turns out, after I realized I ordered from Russia. I didn't know that was who the person was coming from. I wasn't looking. That was on me. So I got a shipping notice that said, hey, it's shipped, but who knows when it'll get here. But when it does, then I'll be able to start working on a new cabal. My first cabal that if you've watched on Twitch, I was painting basically an all Games Workshop cabal just to give that a try. And now I'm working on basically all 3D printed non-Games Workshop cabal, all from Etsy. So yeah. Hello from Albuquerque. Get my first game of Rain and Hell today. Nice. Morning from steamy St. Louis. The War Games Atlantic French are Les Gragonards. That makes sense. I am working on them right now for Stargrave. That's yeah, I can see you using them for Stargrave, definitely. Let's see. Morning from Milwaukee. Hey Jesse, how you doing? Illinois, exclamation point. Good morning from Salt Lake Valley. I'm just home from a long shift at the hospital, eating breakfast, getting ready for sleep. Nice. Senior Crab is awesome, sure. Let's see here. Hi from Amsterdam, Cincinnati. How are you this Sunday morning? Not too bad. Not too bad. Had some breakfast, so that's good. Painting up some Blitzbowl orcs. Glad to have some company. Absolutely. Good morning from Cleveland. Painting 200 plus dwarves for Oathmark in Kings of War. That's a lot of dwarves. My father-in-law and I are going to start making videos in the near future. You're a great inspiration. Well, I appreciate that, Derek. Thank you, and have fun with that. It's content creation is a lot of fun, definitely. Hello and greetings from Pacific Northwest. Monkey Bits guy working on more Monkey Bits. Always something interesting for sale on eBay. Nice. Hey Emily, how you doing? Lurking at work again. Well, good morning to you as well. Casey says, good morning from Indiana. Kind of sore from slaying bass yesterday. They were biting hard. See, I was thinking at first when I read that you were slaying on the base, like do-do-do-do. But then I kicked in. You're talking about fish. Just picked up Rain and Hell, finishing my Demons of Nurgle and Legions of Nagash warband so I can play. Thank you for your work. Well, thank you for buying it. I appreciate that. Absolutely. Yeah, it's been selling well, and we've been pretty happy with it. And we've got the rules all locked down for the expansion that we'll be releasing, hopefully by the end of this month. It's going to be a pay what you want kind of situation. So you'll be able to get it. It won't be print. There won't be a print version, and it's going to be short, so there wouldn't be a reason to have a print version really. So it'll be a PDF, and you'll be able to get it. Basically, pay what you want. So if you want to just get download for free, you can. If you want to give us a couple of bucks, that's cool too. Whatever. Or if you want to download it and then you're like, wow, I really like this, and then technically buy a second copy, but you don't really. But then you buy, you actually pay money, whatever. It's totally up to you. We were originally going to release it completely free, but we were like, well, we're putting a decent amount of work into it, and so and the fact that Wargame Vault has that functionality, that pay what you want functionality. Some websites don't have that kind of thing, so it's kind of a nice little feature. So in progress, I started going through the text, and like there's like spots where like when you're writing a game where you start figuring out like certain things get capitalized, certain things don't, and stuff like that, and the proofreader doesn't necessarily know what our style guide, for lack of a better term, is. And so I was working on that yesterday when I wasn't painting Stargrave dudes and working on Stargrave terrain. Hello from Sendai, Japan. Did you check out the Warhammer Plus free movie? I did not. Nope. We watched the first 2 episodes of What If, though. That was not too bad. That's on Disney Plus. That's the animated Marvel thing. It was pretty good. Let's see here. Is Stargrave post-apocalyptic wasteland type of normal or game of? So Stargrave is kind of both of them together, right? So Stargrave is, and I don't have the book near me, but Stargrave is science fiction, but technically kind of post-apocalyptic science fiction. There was this great galaxy-wide sort of battle, and pretty much everybody lost. And so things are pretty, like, infrastructure to some degree is in ruin. Both governments really got pretty badly messed up and fell apart. And now anytime anyone tries to, like, well, let's start a new government, or let's start a new kind of galaxy-wide sort of spread out, or anything organized, beyond a certain point, then all of the wandering warlords and pirates come in and stomp that out. So everything's kind of lawless. So it's kind of like Firefly, the TV show, except without that big, government. Like, if that government wasn't there and everything else was just like Firefly, it's kind of a little bit like that. So it's sci-fi, but it's not like, there's not, rad mutants and giant spiders and stuff like that or whatever. It's just you and your crew are kind of going and doing things and whatever, and you maybe have, and there could be aliens and there's some robots and things like that. But it's kind of, the story is post-apocalypse. Like, this is what's going on after this giant war sort of basically screwed everything up. But otherwise, it's more sci-fi. It's not like super clean, fancy sci-fi like Star Trek, certainly. But yeah. Let's see here. Trying to finally finish up some Blade Kings for Warcry or Rain in Hell. Nice. I have Blade Kings for my Warcry. They're a lot of fun. What's going on with Game 4 anyway? I travel for work and it's been difficult finding local shops since Pacamar Armageddon. So right now we're in the process of working on redoing it. We are also we're soon going to be launching we're going to probably launch some sort of companion different things kind of along the way as we're working on the main app. But the main app is in progress. One of the first things we'll be launching, it's already kind of built, we're just polishing it, is, and I don't remember exactly what the name of what we're calling it, but it's under the Game 4 umbrella, and it's basically like a game library manager or something like that. So it'll be an app, and then you'll be able to, we tested it actually at a tech conference that Game Format went to, and brought along this big, huge library of board games that a local game store loans him to be able to bring to this convention. It's a conference called That Conference, and it's in Wisconsin Dells, usually every summer. Anyway, and it's a big tech conference and whatever. So he's at the tech conference, and on Tuesday night it's board game night or whatever, tabletop game night, and so people come up and say, hey, I want to try that game, and then he uses the app and he scans the UPC in the back, and then he scans your credit card, not your credit card, your driver's license or what? Or no, actually he was scanning their badges because everybody had like a badge because it's a tech conference. So he scans the badge and then boop, and then that way he can track who's got what, and then when they bring it back, he can go boop, and then it takes it, and then they don't have it anymore, and all that kind of stuff. So you'd be able to use it. You'd be able to use it for, if you've got a gaming convention with a game library, or if you just like to loan out your games a lot to people and you forget who you loan what to, this app would also work for that. So it's gonna be this free thing that we're doing, and that's probably the soonest thing that's gonna launch. But we are working on getting the app back in going. Two issues is, number one is like Game4's it's a side business for us. Like Milk Can, the company that I work for, like that's my day job. Like we do client work, and we've had a fair amount of it this entire time, which has been great, knock on wood. But it's, free time is a little bit hard to come by during the actual, work day and all that kind of stuff. And then, frankly, we're as a society, at least here in the United States, we're still riding a real line about whether or not you should be getting together and playing games. You know what I mean? So that's also something that we're keeping an eye on, which is a bummer, but there it is. Let's see here. Sorry if you've already answered this. With Kill Team's direction now, will you be looking at more alternative skirmish games? I'm always looking at alternative skirmish games. I'm going to continue to play Warcry. I like that a lot. I like Planet 28. I like Stargrave, Zona Alpha, Space Weirdos, Rain in Hell. So that's I've never been like a guy who just plays one game. I'm a big fan of playing lots and lots of different types of games. So the diversification angle on that helps, because then when something happens, if you're like, I don't like what this is gone now, then you don't, or if you're like, and this happens too sometimes you really love this game and you've got 3 other friends and you play and you're trying to grow that group, and then they all of a sudden decide, I don't know, one of them moves away, or gets a spouse and spends time with, or has a kid, that can suck up a lot of time. And then the other one's like, I'm just going to go play this other game because it's more popular and it's more fun. And then now you're stuck there holding the bag, right? You're the only person who wants to play the game anymore, and that makes it difficult. So if you only play that one game, you are at a dead end to some degree. So again, playing multiple different types of games, I think, is a smart idea. Let's see here. Looking at beautiful Pikes Peak from my back patio in Colorado Springs. Nice. What books can I pick up to get into Warcry? All you really need are the core book, and then depending upon what army or armies you have, you would need one or more of the kind of, what do they call them? War Scrolls? I don't think they call them War Scrolls. I don't know what they call them, but so there's the core book, and then they came out with 4 more books, and there's one for Order, there's one for Chaos. Those both are $35 each. And then there's 2 thinner books, one for Death and one for Destruction. Those are $25 each. So let's say you've just always been a big fan of Chaos, and that's all you play. You've got 2 Chaos armies that you've been playing in Age of Sigmar that you want to pull from. Or you're like, I'm getting into it completely new, but I think those Chaos guys are cool. Well, then you really literally need to buy the rule book, the core book, and then the 1 Chaos book, and then you're ready to go. If you decide to, you hopefully still either you could buy a board area thing too, like with terrain, like you can buy. They sell these. I don't think they call them war zones. I forget what they call them, but they sell stuff like that. Or most of your probably favorite like neoprene mat companies that make the different gaming mats. Most of them have 22 by 30 mats that they sell now to work with either Warcry or Kill Team or whatever. So yeah, and then some terrain and stuff like that. But yeah, really all the books you need are just basically the core book and then a book that's going to match the armies that you like to play. And again, they're separated into Order, Chaos, Death, and Destruction. So if you're really into Orcs, then you need the Destruction book. Now, if you're into, I love Skaven, but I also love Stormcast, but I also love Nurgle, well, that's going to be that's actually only going to still be 2 books, because Nurgle and Skaven would be in the same book. But yeah, so there's that. But yeah, I'd check at your local store. You need the core book, and then, like I said, you need one of those other books because it has the stats, and then it has like if you find the cards that they used to sell, the books are technically newer than the cards, and they have more stuff in them too. Not only just like, they'll be like, oh, here's a Lizard Man, card set. Well, the book actually has more units in it than the card set, I think, did. So, and the stuff will be updated points wise and stuff like that. Finished reading Sun Tzu Art of War today. Now I'm ready to win a battle 2,500 years ago. Tech terrain. Nice. My manufacturing Etsy has so much stuff it's a little crazy. Even more of a reason to get a resin printer. And that's true. Very true. Especially my manufacturing, man. That's. I've been buying what do you call them? I've been buying STLs from them here and there. When I stumble across stuff that's cool, I buy it and I'm like, I know I'm going to print this eventually, and then I throw it in a folder on my Google Drive so I've got access to it. Good evening from a small island in the Baltic Sea, dipping kit-bashed figures in different sludgy goos for Forbidden Psalm. Nice. I'm interested in playing that. I bought the PDF and I've been reading it, and it looks cool. And I've watched some of the battle reports that Ash has done over on Guerrilla Miniature Games as well. Good midnight, Adam. How's your week been? Just got my second booster shot last week. Made me tired and a sore arm. When I got my second one, I felt a little lousy for about 12 hours, and then I got better. My wife was fatigued when she got hers. I swear my mom when she got both of hers, she never had any side effects of any kind. So it all kind of depends. How big are war bands in Rain? 7 to 10 miniatures, 10 max. Yeah, you don't ever have more than 10 miniatures in a cabal is technically what they're called. So there's that. It's easier to stay up late and watch live when you're locked down. Silver linings and all that. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Just getting into 5 parsecs from home. Nice. I know that they just released an expansion for 5 parsecs from home, so that's very cool too. Any interest in 40K Fireteam boxed game? Fireteam. Oh, is that the one of those that they're going to sell like at Target or Barnes and Noble or whatever? I don't know. I'd like to take a look at it just to find out like if it's a good gateway game, maybe, But if it's a little bit more board gamey, which very many of those seem to be a little bit more heading towards board game and a little bit less away from, what I mean? Then I'm kind of like, I'm not super into board games personally, but wasn't much choice locally for non-GW sci-fi minis, but I picked up 2 different sets of pre-painted Starfinder minis. Oh, nice. I wasted the whole day yesterday playing WOT. W-O-T. World of Tanks? Maybe World of Tanks. I love the freedom of Rain and Hell. I made a cabal of followers of D&D's Tiamat. Gave me a good use of the draconic abyssal 3D models from Lord of the Print. Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We want, if you're going to make a game, and I've talked about this a bunch of times, if you're going to make a game model agnostic, miniature agnostic, however you want to say it. I was thinking about this last night. We should try to change the term to model agnostic because model is 2 syllables and miniature is like 4, right? Miniature. I guess if you say miniature or versus miniature. Anyway, it's just more syllables, and you want to look for efficiencies in your life where you can find them. Anyway, if you're going to play a game like that or design a game like that, let's say, that's the more important thing. It is, I think, important to try to make it so that the models are not hard to source because the person who buys the game is going to have to source the models themselves. We're calling that the robot squirrel paradox. Anyway, let's see here. I see kangaroos on my way to work every day. Whoa, that's pretty cool. I see squirrels. Currently, I see a cat. Carlson's over there. Let's see here. Out of curiosity, in last Friday's video, you completed about new kill team models not matching up with old kill team. Do you really find it that much of an issue to paint up extra models? I mean, I have 8 armies, so now I have to figure out how to either add new stuff to it. I mean, if it's subtracting, that's not a big deal. Like if I had a whole bunch of models and I can still make a legal list with just pulling 4 models out, cool, great, not a problem. But that is not the case on 6 of the 8 of my currently finished, miniatures. Someone in the comments, I think, or else it was somebody on Discord. I think it was somebody on Discord. brought it up in a way that was clearer than I was able to actually put it across in the video. Basically, I have spent a good portion of this pandemic painting up new models for Kill Team, Warcry as well, but also for Kill Team, so that when the pandemic is eventually friggin' over, I would be able to play with the models I've been working on. And then now, just as we're getting, in theory, but probably not, into the home stretch on the pandemic, then the rules change. Now, more than half of my armies don't work anymore, as far as the rules are concerned. And that is troublesome to me. I don't like that. Like, that is another in a long series of just general slaps in the face. Not even from Games Workshop, but just the last 18 to 24 months that we've all been digging, here. Well, at least 18. So yeah, and a bunch of people were like, well, you could just proxy, you just pretend that the, plasma gun's not on his back. But I don't like to do that. I like to have stuff be WYSIWYG, so when I look at it or my opponent looks at it, they go, I got to remember that guy's got a plasma gun, as opposed to, I got to remember that guy's got a plasma gun, and then I go, no, he doesn't. Like, that's what WYSIWYG is about, is so you can look at them and not have to ask, does that guy have a plasma gun? What's he got going on? I'm like, it's right there, you can see it. So yeah, sure, I could also just play with nickels too and just push those around the board. But I like my hobby stuff to match the stuff. That was my opinion. Your mileage may vary, absolutely. Everybody out there can be like, well, I'm just going to push around Green Army Men. That's cool. That's fine. Everybody can do what they want to do, but that was my big issue with the fact that they just decided to just completely change stuff. And again, the main rule set, the main, like, how you shoot, how you fight melee, that kind of stuff, I'm on board with that stuff. I'm not like, I don't like things to change. I'm not. But I think that when you change the rule set and then also change the way that the armies are built to the point where there are models that you as a company sell that are no longer legal to use in that game. Like, I didn't put that plasma gun on that Plague Champion's back. That was modeled on there. I didn't put it on there and add it on and go, well, the rules say I can do it, so I'll just glue a weird plasma gun. Like, that's a model they made, and now they're like, yeah, now you can't use that in the game. It doesn't make sense. Like, they should have been a little bit more careful about, like, what are we changing, what are we doing for the rules and the lists and this and that and the other thing. And yeah, that's my issue. So do I really find it that much of an issue to paint up extra models? I'm already painting plenty of models all the time. The fact that they now want me to, like, because a lot of people have also said, well, now this way you don't have to buy as many boxes because everything is very bland and you can only use at least two different models, types of models in your list. So now you don't have to buy 3 or 4 boxes or whatever. Great. But now I have to add more stuff to some of my lists, which means I'm going to have to probably go out and buy another box if I don't still have leftovers from before. So it comes out in the wash. I don't know. It's I do it doesn't make me happy. So there's that. Let's see here. Me and a friend are gearing up for Stargrave. Nice. It's an interesting system. We're looking forward to a huge custom campaign looking to mix Gaslands and maybe X-Wing. Ooh, that's kind of fun. eBay has been really hit or miss for me. I'm always dubious getting anything from there. Yeah, I can understand that. Picked up some Pro Acryl Rich Gold and Bright Gold on your recommendations. Hard to find in the UK. Much better than the GW equivalent. Thanks. Oh, yeah. No, GW's metallics are... Like, there's a decent amount of paints from GW that I dig. I like almost all of the contrast paints. I use them constantly. Their washes, I use them all the time. Every project. I can't think of a project I haven't used their washes in since they came out, right? But specifically their metallics are not, in my opinion, very good. That's just me. My nephew's playing Age of Sigmar and asked me about miniatures, and since I have a stupid amount of minis, I gave him a few Star Collecting boxes, Skeleton Horde, Skaven, Elven Lord, and... Well, that's very nice. That's very nice of you to do. Let's see here. Bring on the army of robot squirrels. Nice. World of Tanks is a hit with my family. Finally found the game and got my father into wargaming. Oh, that's cool. I've seen the game, or World of Tanks, like, tabletop game. I've thought about checking it out, but I haven't thought hard enough about checking it out. I should look for a battle report. That might not be a bad idea. I was inspired by Luke at Geek Gaming Scenics and now 3D printing my entire Kings of War army, Abyssal Dwarves. I'm on week 3 of printing now. I think I need another printer. Ooh. Well, let's see. That's what happens sometimes when you get into 3D printing. All of a sudden you have 3 3D printers. I got a friend back in the very early days of 3D printing who basically bought a 3D printer so he could build himself a bigger 3D printer, which is meta, I think, a little bit. Any thoughts on Secret Weapon Miniatures shutting down? They posted an announcement on their Facebook they're closing after 12 years. Yeah, I saw that. I was sad. I like a lot of their stuff. I know Justin McCoy, who's the founder and president. I know him relatively well. We chat at conventions and stuff when we see each other. And yeah, no, that's a bummer. I'm going to have to look and see if I can find... Because they make one specific wash of theirs that I really, really like called Parchment, and I want to see if I can buy more so that I have some for the foregoing future. Though he did say, I think, because we're friends on Facebook too, he did say that people have reached out about like basically buying the company and that kind of stuff, and so he's got to work up a bunch of numbers and things like that. So it may be a situation that some other company buys the assets or something like that, so hopefully maybe the stuff will keep going forward, but we'll see. Yeah, I've read the rules. The 40k fire team looks like Kill Team Light with hex movement, but you have no squad building. There are only 6 factions, 2 in the box. Interesting. I was hoping that they sell card packs for Kill Team like they do for Warcry. Honestly, I could do without the card packs. I would prefer the books, and I'm glad that Warcry did eventually go to that. And here's why. Let's say, like, most of the card packs are between $8 and $10. So let's say you wanted to play 3 different death armies. You'd have to buy 3 different packs, and the death book is $25, and that would give you all of it. So, I don't know. I kind of like the books a little bit better. I'm now awaiting new boxes for my kill teams as well. Yep. Are you just going to stick playing old Kill Team? Probably not making the jump to the new version. I mean, I'm gonna probably, at the very least, I'm gonna use the Veteran Guardsmen, aka Death Corps of Krieg. I'm gonna use those and probably be doing some playing with some other people who are also heading into new Kill Team. I will do that. I'm basically in a holding pattern on all the rest of my armies. Well, I can technically, like I said in the video on Friday, I can use my AdMech, and I can use, now I forget the other army that I could use. AdMech and another one. Tyranids. So I could use those 2 still, technically. But otherwise, but the thing is that they're completely like, they don't have any specialisms of any kind. There's no spotter, there's no medic, there's none of that stuff. They're just like, here's some stuff. So like I said, I'll probably, when I play, just play Krieg for a while until we'll see what happens down the road. All games are mini agnostic, but not all players and stores are. That's not true. Now, here's the deal. People say that, and you're not trying to be evil or anything. Don't get me wrong like that. Don't take it wrong. What I'm saying is that a minis agnostic game, people say, oh, well, you can use whatever miniatures you want with the whatever game. True. That is true. When a game is miniatures agnostic, what that means is that they don't have an affiliated line of miniatures. So it's almost more like a warning. Instead of just saying, oh, you can play 40k with whatever miniatures you want. That is true, absolutely. But you can't buy the miniatures for Space Weirdos or for Rain and Hell because there aren't any. That's what a miniatures agnostic game. Miniatures agnostic is warning you, you're going to have to figure out the miniatures for the game because we don't make any. Okay? But I think that some people take it the wrong way and go, well, miniatures agnostic is you trying to put one over on the company while using whatever miniatures you want. That's not the case at all. Miniatures agnostic means we didn't make any miniatures for this game. 40k is not miniatures agnostic. You can play it with whatever miniatures you want, but they make miniatures for it as well. Same with Malifaux. Same with even like getting into like bolt action. Like certainly you can buy whatever kind of 28 millimeter World War II dudes you can find, but they also do make miniatures for it. But there are games out there where they don't make any miniatures for it, and so therefore that game is miniatures agnostic. It's the terminology's not great. I'll be very frank with you. Like it's the word that we seem to be agreeing on, but I don't know that we all agree on the meaning of it. And so yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you can play. That's the thing that's great about tabletop games. If you want to paint up a bunch of My Little Ponies and use them in Kings of War, knock yourself out, you can do that. But Kings of War is not a miniatures agnostic game because they do make a model line to go with it. So if you want to use them, you can. But for games that don't have a model line, those games are miniatures agnostic. There should probably, like I said, there should probably be a better term, but we don't have it yet. I had a skunk visit while I was barbecuing dinner a couple nights ago. Must have liked the smell of what I was grilling. I mean, did you give it something? I don't know. Let's see here. Procrastigeek, how you doing? Hi, Uncle Adam. I've been using your quick and easy guide to painting Necrons, and it came out great. Super quick with great details, or great results. Thanks a lot. Well, absolutely, Mark. Yeah, no, it was a fun project to work on last summer. It was really cool. Let's see here. I have a 100-point kill team for every faction from the 2018 edition. Wow. I would have to spend so much money to update for new edition that I could buy a whole new army for that. No new kill team for me. Yeah, I can understand it. I see bears at work sometimes. Wow. I'd just hand wave the plasma gun with it being out of charge. Yeah. Again, like I said, I can do that, sure, but I don't. That's, there's a lot of things I could do. I could push coins around instead of miniatures, but I like to have my miniatures be WYSIWYG. It's my thing. So if that's not a thing for you, then definitely, you do you, but this is my issue. And I think that it's something that they could have relatively easily solved, especially since they're a miniatures company that sells very specific miniatures. Then they should have paid attention to their miniatures, I think, and made lists that work with them a little bit better. I've said this many times recently, just play the version of the game you like. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Talking of Kill Team, are the Elites, Commanders, and Killzone books worth it while they're available? I mean, if you're going to keep playing first edition, at the very least Elites is. I didn't really like Commanders that much, which is a bummer, because I wanted to. I wanted to have a cool commander in my group, but that just didn't. Elites worked out nice, though, so I liked Elites. If you're going to stick with first edition, I would pick up Elites. Grabs a pile of nickels and starts to paint them. Why do you have a pile of nickels just like within arm's reach? I usually keep them in a jar or something like that. Let's see here. Plasma gun is now plasma pistol. I have the same model with the same problem. Yeah. How to paint a nickel Blood Angels assault squad. I mean, you have to freehand it, top down, but yeah. Definitely don't think we're in the home stretch. Part of my job involves maintaining a COVID testing system at the university, and numbers are spiking across the board. Yep, I think you are also right. A little bit late. Any thoughts on the Battletech migration? Reddit Battletech is growing since the GW Crackdown. I keep hearing. Oops, sorry, I bumped it again. I keep bumping the mic. I keep hearing people saying, "Oh man, all these people are coming over to play Battletech," and I'm like, I don't know a single person that plays Battletech locally. I don't think. I know I've got at least one friend who now lives in Arizona who plays Battletech. So I keep hearing about this migration. People keep mentioning it in the comments, but I don't know anybody who's done that. So I mean, it's cool if it's what's happening, and I'm assuming you're seeing it happen in. If you're seeing it happen in like a subreddit, then I don't know. I got to be honest. That's not a thing I would probably do. I don't generally like the models for Battletech. And there's a lot of bookkeeping in that game, and it was great when I was in middle school, but I'm not super into it now, and I'm not saying anyone's wrong for liking it. It's just a personal preference. Like the miniatures are all kind of soft, like not squishy, rubbery, but like the detail's always kind of real soft in the new plastics and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't know. I want my games to go faster, I guess. Now, a Battletech video game, sure. I mean, the one from Harebrained Schemes I enjoy quite a bit. It's turn-based, so it's quite a bit like, and you're kind of not top-down, but you can spin around 360 or 3D kind of whatever. So it's almost like playing a really fancy version of the tabletop game with really cool little tiny trees that fall over when you bump into them and stuff like that, and that's really cool. But yeah, I thought about for a hot minute buying the new MechWarrior 5 from Microsoft, and then didn't. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know anything about it. Like I said, I've heard some people in the comments say, "Oh, so many people are coming over to play Battletech," and I don't know anybody who's done that, but I'll take your word for it. Will you update the cheapest way to start a kill team for each faction? Probably not, because this book, this compendium is a stopgap. So, I mean, I could basically the cheapest way to get into the current is just buy 2 boxes. And well, not always. If you want to go really boring, you could build 2 fire teams of the same stuff in a lot of situations. So I guess you could go that way. But I think the best bet is probably just to wait until the new bespoke kill team box sets come out. Kind of like they did it with Warcry, where they're like, hey, we're gonna take a bunch of Night Haunts, a bunch of different sprues from Night Haunts that are currently out there, and we're gonna put it in this box that says Warcry on it, but then says Night Haunts, and then you buy it. Now you get yourself a nice group of Night Haunts that you can use. I think what they're going to do is something along those lines, except I think they're going to be new sculpts, because the sculpts are going to have to match the specialisms. Just like in the Deathcore of Krieg dudes, you've got like a guy who's a spotter and he's got binoculars, and you got a guy who's a medic and he's got a medic bag and he's running, and you have these different types of sculpts. I think that they're going to do the same type of thing for the new kill team boxes. So then in that situation, I guess we'll just wait until those come out, and then that'll be the way to do it. I don't know. So yeah, I don't see myself doing it. Zingbo. I think that changing the army lists so that 1 kit equals 1 fire team rather than a kill team being built up from 3 kits is a boil that needed to be lanced sooner rather than later. I think that the issue is that they're forcing you to do it that way, right? So if you wanted to before, you could have easily just built yourself a list from 1 box. I made a whole video about how you could do that in cheap ways. The issue that I'm having is that if I wanted to buy 4 different boxes, I've got Warriors. Now I already had a box of Warriors banging around in the basement for years, so when I built my Necron kill team, wasn't a big deal. I bought a box of Immortals, and I built my own flayed ones, because the new flayed ones weren't out yet, and I built my own out of modified Warriors, and then I went onto eBay and I bought a single Death Mark. And so that was the way that I made that thing, and I could have a Death Mark, a couple of flayed ones, 2, I think it was 2 or was it 3 Immortals, and then whatever was left over was basically Warriors. Now you don't have the ability to do that if you want to. So I understand that, yeah, it's cheaper now, but it's also forcing you to do it that way. You can't, I don't know. That's what I kind of don't like. Forge World nickels are all sold out. Oh, bummer. Did you see that Infinity is switching away from metal minis? No, I did not. That'll be interesting to check out. No, I haven't seen anything about that. That's going to be interesting because Infinity miniatures have really nice high detail, but that's because it is a very different process to make a mold for white metal, pewter, whatever you want to call the metal that we use in miniatures these days. It is a very different process to do that than it is to make a mold for plastic miniatures. The Games Workshop plastic miniatures are as sharp as they are, meaning the detail is so sharp, and like if you've ever tried to hold a chaos model to try to squeeze it together to make sure that the glue joins stay, and then you've poked yourself and literally drawn blood, there's a reason that their models are so sharp, and it's because they spend an incredible amount of money on making the molds. It will be interesting to see if the new plastics coming from Infinity are going to have as much sharp detail as their metals currently do. And it's not a sculpting thing, it's a mold thing. What happens is when you're making a metal mold, you have when you're making a metal miniature, you have a master model, and then you literally pour liquid rubber around it to make and then you take it apart and pull them up. You can't do that with steel. That's not how steel models or steel molds for plastic models work. You literally have to have like a robot arm that grinds out of this piece of steel everything that makes up the entire model. You don't pour molten steel over your master sculpt and then get a mold. That's not how that works. Now, if you think about it, if you think about a spike, right? You've got a spike coming out of your chaos dude or whatever, and it's like this, right? And it comes to a real sharp point, right? Well, think about that in negative inside the mold. To get that super sharp point, the little tiny probe that gets in there and grinds everything out has to be so incredibly small, but yet sharp enough to cut steel. to be able to get up into that fine point, they're very expensive and it takes a lot of work and all that kind of stuff. Which is why most companies, when they're working with plastics, the details are a lot smoother because they don't use as small grinders, they don't use as many of them, they're not all that kind of stuff. So the mold is cheaper than GW spends, or and also it's not just GW. Weird minis, their Malifaux minis are very sharp too. But it costs a ton more to make those molds. It'll be interesting to see whether they go that direction with Infinity or not. I will be honest, I know that the new Infinity medals are better than the old ones because I put together the skinny Yuan back in the day, the fancy special edition guy, and he was like 12 or 16 pieces for a dude this tall, which was too many pieces. And I know that in recent years, they've come down to like most of their models are like 3 pieces or maybe 4. And that's a lot more reasonable. But now they're moving to plastic. We'll see how the detail holds up. I get into miniatures before I got into gaming, so Battletech will always be a hard thing for me to get into. The minis seem average at best. Yeah. Not sure about Battletech, but there is an Infinity by Corvus Belli that seems like fun. Like I said, I've done 3 different demos of Infinity, including one taught to me by Sam, and the rule set never stuck with me. It just never made me go, "Ooh, this is fun." I don't know why. It's just a personal preference thing again. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just saying for me, it's not the game to play. You should do these live streams more often. Great advice / thoughts. Well, I appreciate that. I do them every other Sunday here on YouTube, and I also paint and stream and talk twice a week on Twitch. Let me push a button. There you go. Next show will be tomorrow night, as a matter of fact, 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm on Twitch at twitch.tv/tabletopminions. And then Friday, 10 a.m. Central, I do those in the morning on Fridays. And those are usually 3 hours. This show's 2 hours, but those shows are 3 hours. And during those shows, I'm actually down in the basement at my hobby desk and I'm painting and working on stuff. But also, talking to folks, answering questions, yammering on as I do. But this show's every other Sunday. And I guess I could do it every Sunday, but this is the second of my 3 jobs. So, I only have so much time in the day, as it turns out. Boy, I do have so many giant robot rules, in case you don't like Battletech. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about robot squirrels again. Sorry. I saw a robot and my mind immediately went to squirrels. How does one get into playing Dust? Apparently there are 4 or 5 rule sets. I don't know. Well, so, okay. Originally, the game came out and it was called Dust Tactics, and it was produced by Fantasy Flight Games. Then, eventually, they made but it was played on a grid, and it was a little board gamey. And then they came out with like a full-blown regular miniatures game called Dust Warfare. And that was written by Mac Martin and Andy Chambers. Andy Chambers was one of the original writers for 40K, Games Workshop original writer anyway. He's very, very good. Mac Martin was one of the original writers on Malifaux, also very good. I loved that game. I loved Dust Warfare. It was spectacular. Then Fantasy Flight got rid of the license, or some business crap happened. I don't know. Anyway, now the new rule set is called Dust 1947. And it is produced by a company called, well, at least here in the United States, it's just called Dust USA. So the models are still the same. They've added in new things. They've added in a Japanese force. They've added in a Cthulhu force. There's like all kinds of crazy crap going on. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, if you buy Dust 1947 in that book, and you can also download the rule book for free on their website if you want to check it out, but there are 2 rule sets in that book. Either if you want to play kind of the old-fashioned way on the grid, or you can play like a normal miniature game that has no grid and you're measuring and all that kind of stuff. But those are in the Dust 1947 main rulebook. And like I said, you can download the rulebook for free off their website as a PDF to check it out and then kind of go from there. But yeah, there are older previous versions and all kinds of stuff. Now, if there's other new versions beyond that main book that has the 2 different versions in it, the grid version and the non-grid version, that I don't know because I actually don't play the game. But I've thought about it because I have a bunch of the models and I really love the concept of like weird World War II stuff, and Cthulhu's are cool. I like those. And so yeah, but I don't know anybody around here who plays it beyond, so yeah, I haven't pulled the trigger, but I've looked at the book. Not super crazy in depth, but I've looked at it. Let's see here. Can't wait for the Tyranid medic model. Well, yeah, it'll have like a little nurse's costume on and all that kind of stuff. It'll be fun. The one box thing isn't necessarily true for the new kill team. There are no power weapons in a box of Primaris Intercessors unless you want your Sergeant to just use fists. Yeah, that's good. So how do you even get power weapons onto your Intercessor Sergeant? Did you even have that action? I don't think you do. I don't have the book anywhere near me. Or do I? No, I don't. Let's see here. Moderator Matt says, can't do it every Sunday. Overruled. Nice. I appreciate that. Infinity Gamer did a hands-on review of the new Infinity models. Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. What about Star Wars Legions? Warmhorde? I've got a painted 800-point list of Empire for Star Wars Legions, and I will eventually probably add to it and then maybe do Rebels. I don't know. But I have not gotten a chance to play just because the world, you know. So there's that. Let's see here. Welcome to the Every Other Sunday Show, streaming every week. There you go. Robot greater than squirrel. No. Robot less than squirrel. I have no idea. I've always been bad with the symbols. I can never tell which one's which. All the models for Dust all the models for Dust over the years are still active. I think that's also a very cool thing too, because again, I own a decent amount of Dust models. I do kind of wish. Well, here's the thing: I don't like the grid version of the game. I know people do dig it. I like to play it like a normal miniatures game, but yeah, like I said, I don't know anybody around here who plays. I want to post my finished Space Marines on Tabletop Means Facebook, but my request says still pending. I haven't let anybody into the Facebook group in a year, maybe. I should probably delete that group. It's been okay lately. The racism seems to have stopped. Knock on wood. But it's Facebook. I want to get off of Facebook altogether if I can, but we'll see how it goes. Primaris Intercessors do not have access to power weapons. Assault Intercessors do, and they come in the box. That's what I thought. I figured Primaris are just shooty. It's just stupid to take the Space Marines would just anyway, whatever. Would love an ATTE for Star Wars Legions. I don't think I know what that is. I know what an ATST is. I know what an ATAT is. I don't know what an ATSE is. Or TE is. Have you read the Metro novels? I haven't. But I did literally play a little bit of Metro Exodus last night. I hadn't played it in months and months and months and months. And then I started playing for a little while. And then, I don't know, I was just not quite in the mood. It was just a little too real. And it's one of those games where they just don't give you ammo, and so it's just not much. You're like, I gotta get from here to there, and there's a whole bunch of these weird giant mutant dog things, and I have to evidently sneak past them instead of shooting them, and I would rather shoot them, frankly. So I stopped playing that, and instead I started playing a game that I haven't played in a long time, but there was an update to it, so I checked it out, and it's called Clone Drone in the Danger Zone, which is this funny kind of like little voxel-style game where you're a little robot, you're a person who's been put into the robot body, harvested by other robots who are like, hey, and they've been harvesting humans and putting them in robots and then making them fight. And you basically start out with a sword and then like a laser sword kind of thing, and then you kind of fight other robots, and it's like an arena, and you do it long enough, and then you get to upgrade and get better weapons, and then eventually you get to like after 10 fights, then you sort of escape. And then the story to the game starts and everything like that, and it's fun, and it's also funny too. But that was for me, that hit the spot last night after I got done painting. So I loved original Dust Tactics. Grognard's never gave it a chance. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of the kind of grid thing to Dust Tactics, but I love Dust Warfare. That was awesome. It was really, really good. Let's see here. Let's see, where was I? Smattering of Cthulhu in a game always makes it better. Yeah, you're not wrong. Thoughts on one-page rules? I think it's cool stuff. I like what they're doing. I like that they're producing PDF games that you can get, and then they're also producing STL files that will work with those PDF games if you want to. That's very cool. I want to check out I need to sign up for their Patreon because that's the only way you can get at their army builder. So if you want to build your own, so the way that One Page Rules works is that they've got basically 40K, basically Kill Team, basically Age of Sigmar, basically, they've got a bunch of different things that are all basically different versions, easier versions or whatever, but different versions of GW stuff. So, okay. And then they have these army lists that you can download for free that are not actually Tau. It's Tau, but they don't call it Tau, so they don't get in trouble. And then you can use your current models you already have for Games Workshop stuff and use it to play these games, and it's a different rule set and all that kind of stuff, and that's great. And honestly, if you want to buy the deluxe version of any of those rule books, they're $5. But otherwise, there's also a free one-page rules version of it. That's hence the name of the company. But so I bought the fancier version for $5 of Firefight, which is basically their version of Kill Team. And as I was reading through it the first time, there was this big chart on this one page that showed how you move your models in a squad. They have to stay within a certain range of each other and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh, I thought this was a Kill Team clone. I want to move my people individually, not move them together in a squad. So then I kind of just was like, oh, well, that sucks. And then I didn't really look at it again. Well, fast forward a year or so, and someone's like, there are certain models in the game that move in groups. Little, chaff type models. In the Imperial Guard, there's conscripts or penal colony dudes who move in units of 3 or 5. But for the most part, most of the models in the game move individually. So they'll have the name of the model and then a number after it. So such and such 1 means it's 1, but such and such 5 means that they move in groups of 5, and you buy them in groups of 5. So I didn't realize that, but because I saw that chart, that was the first thought that I had, and I was like, oh, and that was on me. The thing is I would like to be able to go and look at the actual army list building rules that they have on Patreon and go, okay, let's say I don't want to just have to use 40K models or whatever, or I want to make my own stuff. That's what I like about skirmish games, when I get to make my own figures, not go look at a book full of, or a pamphlet or a PDF of here's the army list that we've already built. I like to be able to go, I want to build this guy this way, especially so he fits the model. That's, again, one of my own personal issues. So, yeah, I do want to track. I've been looking at it again recently. I was actually looking at one of the army lists just before the show, because a lot of people in the comments recently on the most recent video were like, well, just play one-page rules and then your Plague Champion will be legal. Well, technically there's no Nurgle list of the lists that they currently have. There's Chaos, and I think that technically I could make him a Chaos Champion because you can use a plasma gun with a guy, and so technically, yes, I could make him legal, but then he's just a regular Chaos dude, not a Nurgle dude. And I didn't see anything really specifically to make him or the rest of his squad Nurgle-y, I don't know, a miasma of flies or pestilent discharge or anything like that. So I don't know. I'll take a deeper dive into it. But if you're interested in looking for some, I think, relatively interesting rules, and especially if you've got a 3D printer and you also want to be able to work with them to get a bunch, they've got the stuff available on My Mini Factory. If you do the Patreon, you get access to the models that they make every month. It's a cool system. I love the concept of I buy this game from you, everything gets delivered to me digitally, and then I get to make it all here, and there's no shipping, there's no, all that. That's, I think, kind of cool. Let's see here. If you want to stop racism in your group, use your admin powers and toss out the troublemakers. Did that a long time ago. Yep. Did that a lot. Had to keep doing it. I like one-page rules, then they have some great models. I've bought some of their models recently. I will be honest. I want them to make their own stuff. A lot of the stuff that they make replaces obvious GW stuff. And there's a lot of companies that do that out there. There's a lot of companies like Starbreach has got, all these army lists in the back of the book that you go, yeah, this is Imperial Guard. Yeah, I know, this is Sisters of Battle. Yeah, these guys are, Tyranids. I get it. And you just change the names and tweak it and stuff like that. And I know that they're doing that because they want to appeal to the folks who've got giant collections full of 40K miniatures, and I get that. But at least with Starbreach, they also have, like, space pirates, nomads, just, like, random kind of, like, tropes. So that's kind of cool, too. Yeah, I don't know. I don't... Like, I like the concept of using the models you already have from another company and using them in the game. There's something weird in me that's like, but I don't want the company who's making the new rule set to go, wink, wink, these guys are not actually Tau, but they're Tau. You know what I mean? Like, that, for some reason, bothers me. So, like, we made Rain in Hell. You can totally use GW miniatures if you want to. I just built an entire cabal and painted an entire cabal of GW miniatures. But we didn't go, these guys, basically bloodletters. We were just like, if you want to use bloodletters for those, you can, but you can use lots of different things. Slaughter Fiend means all kinds of stuff. Corpulent Demon just generally means kind of, tubby or whatever. Armored Demon means that it's maybe made out of rock. Maybe it's got actual armor on. Maybe it's covered in exoskeleton chitin. I don't know, whatever. So, yeah, there's that. Facebook is cancer, indeed. Let's see here. ATTE is the six-legged clone walker from the clone series. Okay, yeah, I remember them from the, yeah. Yep. Kind of looks like a big bug. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I got locked out of my Facebook last month when it was hacked, and I was like, oh, well. Nice. I have 3 or 4 people who will play/try new games with me. Currently, we are enjoying Cannibal Sector 1 and Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone. But we are few, unfortunately. Well, but you got some. I mean, that's the way to look at it. I have not heard of Cannibal Sector 1. Cyberpunk Red Combat Zone I've heard of, but not the Cannibal Sector thing. That's interesting. Let's see here. Can you still get Rain in Hell in print, and can you still get it in the UK? Yes to both. I really want to build demon mecha snails, and I need an excuse. Yeah, so the book is print on demand. So in theory, we should never run out because we're not we don't have like a print run that we made and then we sell until we run out of our print run. When you say, I would like to buy that book, please, then they make one and they send it to you. But yet, and this is from a person who's worked in printing on and off for years and years and years in Wisconsin, where there's tons and tons of printing companies because of all the paper, because of all the trees. The print quality is surprisingly good. Like, I remember when print on demand first came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s, you'd pick up a book like at Gen Con that was print on demand, and you'd be like, oh, yeah, that looks print on demand, all right. And honestly, this new book, I mean, when we got these printed and stuff, or, we get the proofs, again, when you order one, it will get printed and sent to you fresh, right off the press. But I can't, as a person who doesn't work in the printing industry currently, but I've worked in it a lot. If you would have given this to me 3 years ago, I would have not said that it was print on demand. Other than the fact that on the last page, it has this little thing down here that is basically this last page has to be left blank because that's how they kind of keep track of stuff, and it's a thing. So then I've been like, I bet that's because it's print on demand. But otherwise, like the quality, like I remember back in the day, black on the covers of print on demand books would be raised because it would be like the digital printing was so, but now it's really, really good. So anyway, and if you want to, also the company that we use to do it, which is a company called wargamevault.com, which is a part of One Bookshelf, is the overall parent company. One Bookshelf also does Drive-Thru RPG and a lot of those other websites as well. The print facilities they use, they have one in the US and one in the UK. So if you order from the UK, it will be printed in the UK and shipped to you, and it'll be cheaper than getting it printed in America and shipped to you and all that kind of stuff. So there's that. All-terrain tactical enforcer. Ooh. Would a Dungeons and Dragons skirmish game be viable? I mean, they had one. They had there was a. Back in the back in the late 2000s, I think, they had Wizards of the Coast had a game that was just basically Dungeons & Dragons Skirmish, and you got pre-painted miniatures, random pack like HeroClix, except that the bases didn't click. They just had regular, bases. They didn't have like the little clicky things like you do with Hero Clicks, but they were the same kind of slightly rubbery kind of plastic, and they were pre-painted. And but they were, but yeah, that was a thing. Yeah. There was a Dungeons & Dragons skirmish game. It didn't seem to last too long. I mean, the models are still for sale on eBay all the time. I can't believe it's not Tau. Nice. Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition was pretty skirmish. That's true. That's a very good point. 4th edition Dungeons & Dragons was... I've been told by friends of mine who were big into Dungeons & Dragons, and when they played that edition, they're like, Dungeons & Dragons 4th edition was basically the coolest miniature game ever, because it was basically just a miniatures game, kind of, but just you only had the one miniature. So yeah. Let's see here. Just joined. Were you talking about one-page rules? Some folks asked a little bit about it, and so I just mentioned so far, like kind of what I've looked at a little bit, but not too much. Plotting, building up a Gasland setup. Nice. For Nurgle units and one-page rules, look at the Havoc Brothers Disciples. The leader can have a plasma rifle and energy fist. Yeah, I saw that, but I didn't see any... but there's like nothing Nurgle-y about it particularly, you know what I mean? It seems to be just straight chaos, which is, fine, but... did you try Frostgrave? How does it compare to the newer Stargrave? Yeah, I played Fargrave. I've played Frostgrave, yes. Stargrave is... Let's see, what are some differences that I can think of right off the top of my head? Number one, I think I don't remember the movement being the same in Frostgrave. In the activation rules in Stargrave are basically you have a captain phase, a first mate phase, a soldier phase, and then a creature phase. So in the captain phase, you can activate the captain and up to 3 soldiers who are within 3 inches of the captain. So if the captain's off by themselves, well, they're going to be just activating by themselves. But if they've got some, like a retinue of folks around them, they get to activate also at the same time. Then during the first mate phase, same deal, basically. And then during the soldier phase, any soldiers that haven't activated already with either the first mate or the captain, then they get to activate. And then, and again, it's not like I activate a guy, you activate a guy. It's like basically I do my captain phase, you do your captain phase. This is if I won the initiative. Then I do my first mate, you do your first mate phase. Then I do my soldiers, you do your soldiers. And then the last phase is if there's any creatures, NPCs basically, they all get to do their thing, following the rules, of course. But so that's sort of interesting. I like the fact that the first mate can be very different from the captain. In Frostgrave, your apprentice was basically just the same as your main wizard. They were just a backup for when your wizard dies, then this guy gets to bump up to the next level. But otherwise, you couldn't kind of have them sort of separate out. And I like that the jobs are now different than they were. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Some people are just like, oh, it's just sci-fi version of Frostgrave. But it's more than that. I do like it. Have you heard that Star Wars Armada is not getting new releases anymore? Yep, saw that. I talked about this a little bit yesterday in the Patreon live show that I did, the monthly Patreon live show. I played Armada like once, and I thought there were some neat things to the rules, but I remember getting done with it and going, I would maybe get into this if I wasn't already into X-Wing, because I was playing X-Wing a good amount at the time. And it just seemed weird for them to make a game, and then make a game that was quite a bit like it in many ways, and then, you know what I mean? Like, it seemed odd. It'd be like making Games Workshop making 40K and then another game that was very much like 40K. Big army sizes, not the same models, but still sci-fi models. You know what I mean? Like, sure, they've got kill teams, sure, they've got Adeptus Titanicus and Adeptus Flyronicus and all that junk, but like, it would be like making another army game that was also sci-fi, that was very much alike. You know what I mean? Like, the rules would be different, but still, like, it was an odd thing. So yeah, that's why I never got into it. But it did have some interesting rules that I kind of dug, actually. I saw the new Army Painter airbrush paint is coming out soon. I want to give it a try. I received it last week. There's a kind of a starter kind of box, and then like the big mega box, and I got both of those. So yeah, I am definitely interested. I have used a little bit. They sent me some prototypes of some of their paints to use, and then report back and say, hey, this is what I like, this is what I did, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's very cool that they're going down that road. It's a smart move. I remember talking to I was at a distributor conference in Madison, Wisconsin, I don't know, 3 years ago, and talking to their director of marketing, who's I consider a friend. And I was like, hey, you guys got to make some airbrush paints. I think that'd be a good idea. And he's like, yeah, we're working on it. And they were. And so now they're going to launch, which is nice because it's hard to find good airbrush paints at a lot of hobby stores. Games Workshop technically makes a line of airbrush paints, but a lot of places that carry Games Workshop's paints don't necessarily carry the airbrush paints. The other issue is the stupid airbrush paints come in those stupid pots, which doesn't make any sense. How are you going to pour that into the... Anyway. But a lot of stores that also carry... If you're looking for not like super high-end paints, like the super expensive, hard-to-find stuff, if you find a shop that's got like the super hard-to-find stuff in there, okay, cool. But they're probably going to have Army Painter too. And so to have a wide line of Army Painter airbrush paints is very cool. And I think the really smart thing that they did with these airbrush paints too is they put the majority of the colors in triads. So what that means is that you got your base color, skeleton bone. Then they also make a highlight color of skeleton bone and a darker color of skeleton bone. So if you wanted to, airbrush the model with the darker color, then hit it with like a zenithal of the mid color, and then an extreme zenithal of the light color, they'll all match each other because they're all the same hue. There's just basically one's tinted and one's shaded, but they're the same hue. Sometimes you're like, I need a darker color of this, and sometimes just adding black to it will screw it up, or not, or it'll change the hue. The hue is the very specific color, and when you add white to a hue, usually it will turn into that same hue, but it will get lighter, become a tint. If you add black to it, it'll become a shade. But paint is not perfect, and so sometimes things will shift, and then all of a sudden you'll add black to this color, and it will change hue and not look like it matches anymore. I don't know, it's hard to explain. So, yeah. For Rain in Hell, I would love to see some kind of gallery of different players' cabals. Maybe players could submit them somehow, or there could just be designated Rain in Hell Instagram hashtag. Rain in Hell Instagram hashtag is a good idea. There's also the Discord, which... Because Discord is dumb a little bit, I just I don't know what the Discord invite code is because it's discord.gg and then alphabet soup, which I understand we're not fancy, but they would be nice if you could do something there to make it so that was actually something memorable. I need to put it on the website, but otherwise, I don't know if it'll work. But if you go to my Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/tabletop minions. If you go into the chat and just type in !RAIN, REIGN, it might pop up. Nightbot might be paying attention and might pop up a thing, and there's a link to the Discord in there. But because I'm not streaming right now, I don't know. Otherwise, show up tomorrow on Twitch, and then you can find it there. Like I said, I do need to put it on the website. I haven't done that. If you go look at our Twitter, which is twitter.com/snarlingbadgers with an S on the end. There's a Discord link in the Twitter. I posted about it 3 weeks back or something like that. So you could look there too if you were interested. So sorry about that. I was just gonna. The website we use is Squarespace, and up at the top we've got the Instagram and the Twitter link. So I was just like, oh cool, now we got a Discord. I'll just put the Discord link up there. They don't have a way to do that. Like, it won't put the Discord icon in there. They have icons for social media platforms I've never heard of before, but not for Discord or for TikTok. I feel like it's maybe they're being weirdly political about something. I don't know, like not political like politics, but like it's a business. It's like a business decision that they're like, well, we're not going to link to Discord with our... I don't understand it. It's dumb. So I got to figure that out. Drive-Thru RPG I've used before. The book was gorgeous. Yeah, I mean, like Drive-Thru RPGs, the company that they use for their printing on demand is a company called Lightning Source. And right now they currently only have a facility in the US and one in the UK. I wish that they would get one over closer to kind of Australia, Indonesia, Asia, kind of. That would be great. But, and they probably will eventually. I don't know. But yeah. I wish paints came with some text about their intended purpose. Oh, yeah. Raging Hero. Oop. Scrolled. Raging Heroes would make awesome Rain and Hell models. Yeah, maybe. Let's see here. The D&D Skirmish game was called Dungeon Command. I have all 5 boxes on its shelf. No, there was another game that was just, I think, called Dungeons & Dragons Skirmish, and it was made by Wizards of the Coast, and they were pre-painted miniatures, but you would get a box and you wouldn't know what was going to be in it. At the same time they were making that, they also made a Star Wars miniatures game as well that had, like, you would open the box, and it was like a tall, skinny box, like the boxes that HeroClix come in, and you would tear it open and be like, oh, look, I got a Stormtrooper and some dude from the cantina and another dude from the cantina, and oh, finally Luke Skywalker, or whatever. And that's so you didn't know what you were going to get. But they also had that for D&D as well, and they made a bunch of different, just like you did with like the Star Wars game. There was like the original like kind of New Hope box, and then there was the Return of the Jedi box, and then eventually they got the Clone Wars boxes, and they ran through all the movies at the time, and then they're like, all right, now let's start doing a bunch of expanded universe junk, and they just had to keep constantly coming out with new editions, or not new editions, but new sets, just like you do in like I said, in HeroClix. But they did the same thing for D&D. This is probably a video topic in itself, but do you have any advice for someone trying to make and print their first wargame? I mean, the thing you're going to probably spend the most money on is probably going to be artwork. And it's the thing you probably should spend the most money on, frankly. There are plenty of games out on Wargame Vault that are probably very good games, but no one will ever buy them because the cover is janky and ugly. And there's like lousy layout. It's just really boring layout when you get to look at the inside of the, because they give you like a little example of what the inside of the book looks like. The layout's really boring, and there's no artwork. And they could be very great rules, but people will not give it the time of day these days if it's not something that looks nice. You know what I mean? People want both of those things. They want good rules, and they also want some polish to the layout, to the artwork, all that kind of stuff. So if you're going to be designing something and you have a rule set, you're going to either need to find a friend who's good at graphic design to do the layout for you, or you're going to pay somebody to do it, and you're going to want to get decent artwork. It's a bummer, but it's what it is. Yeah, that's, I would say, because you're putting yourself far behind the 8 ball if you decide to just cheap out on the artwork or have a really super boring cover. People won't click on that. It's just the way it works. And all day, I will absolutely admit, one of the biggest reasons that our game has been selling really well is obviously because me and Vince, people know who we are and all that kind of stuff, and we've got a decent-sized platform to be able to tell people about our game, absolutely. But it continues to sell well, I think, because people are enjoying it, and it's a decent set of rules. So there's that too. And also, people are looking at it like, if just because it's us, if we made something that looked really terrible, great rules, but just hard to look at, people have been like, I don't know if I'm going to buy that. You know what I mean? But you spend that time on all those different things, and it does definitely pay off. Stargrave is much more shooty. That's also very true as well. Futuristic firearms versus bows and arrows. Yeah, sure, absolutely. That's also a very, very good point. I'll have to take a look at that Havoc Brothers Disciples stuff. Let's see here. In the Rain and Hell game, is there a faction that is similar to Nurgle where they can corrupt the terrain or battlefield in a way that can attack your opponent's army? There's not. So it's a little semantics, but there's no factions per se really in Rain and Hell. There's philosophies. So basically, the philosophies give each army different special abilities. They give the leaders special abilities that are different, and then the devout, which is basically the leader's like lieutenant, kind of right-hand demon, is determined upon the philosophy. So if you go with, I'm going to be judges, well, then your your devout is executioner. You can't pick a different devout. That's what's attached to it. Brokers, it's the tallyman, whatever, that kind of stuff. So, but with the leader, you have 3 different choices of leader. You've got a warrior, a schemer, and a zealot. And those have slightly different stats and different special abilities. But then, depending on which, you want to say discipline, but that's not what it is. Which philosophy you go with, then yeah. But there's nothing really that allows you to corrupt terrain. There is terrain that's already pre-corrupted. You can, in the terrain rules. Let's see here. So you can have normal ruins, but then there's optional ruins, which could be haunted or crumbling. Okay. Then you have shrines, but then there's optional shrine rules, which could be empowered or cursed shrines. There's swamps, but then there's optional swamp rules, which would be despair, swamps of despair, and poisoned swamps. That's bad. Then you have forests, and there's optional forest rules. So you've got corpse forests or soul-infused forests. That's fun. You've got pools, which are just brackish water, bubbling lava, or even frozen ice. So the optional rules for pools. Well, there's not actually so much optional rules for pools. There's just different types of pools. There's either lava pool, deep water pool, icy pool, or tar pool. And then there's crags, which are rocky crags, and crags are crags. There's not any kind of fancy kind of crags. So you've got a lot of options for terrain. Sometimes the terrain can damage people when they get too close, but maybe that doesn't. Other times the terrain is something you use to get more powers and stuff like that, maybe, but it might also bite you in the butt. So there's options there too. Does the Army Painter paint also have that weird goop in it? I don't think so. I should double check. Because the prototype stuff that I didn't seem to, that I messed with, but again, it was a prototype. It wasn't production stuff, so I don't know. Let's see here. Put an old paintbrush handle against the edge of the paint pot to pour cleanly. The paint will run down the handle only in your cup. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Or I could just use a little pipette or something like that. Or they could have just put airbrush paint into a bottle that is made for airbrush paint. I don't, call me weird. I mean, they might be. Are they discontinuing the airbrush paint? I don't see it around too much these days. Army Painter is also a company that cares about their consumers. They show it in the prices and the shape of the paint bottles. Shape of the paint bottles. Well, I mean, like, because they're dropper bottles, or is there something else in there? I mean, I like the dropper bottles just fine, though I don't like dropper bottles for washes or for... Well, I mean, I wouldn't use dropper bottle... I wouldn't want dropper bottles for contrast paint. I want to dip my brush into contrast paint, and same with washes. One of the reasons I kind of don't use Army Painter washes that much is because I have to put them someplace else. Like I don't like to put washes on my wet palette. I just don't do it. So instead, I have to find like a little plastic cup, and I bought a bunch of these little plastic cups that you use in tattoo. You dip the needle in there, and then with a gun. Anyway. Yeah, I want to dip my brush into my wash. That's what I want to do. So that's why I like GW washes the best, and that's why I like contrast stuff. But every other type of paint, I want to use a dropper bottle, I will admit. Oh, it actually worked. Oh, so if you go to the even though I'm not streaming right now, if you go into and chat in the thing, then it popped up oh, good. Well, good job, Nightbot. I appreciate that. So, yeah. People talking about D&D Chainmail. I guess if that's still a game, I mean, I don't even know if they make it anymore or not. It was called D&D Collectible Miniature Skirmish. That was the one with the pre-painted little minis. That's true. Blind Pack Minis game. Yeah, no thanks. Yeah, no, I wasn't into that either. What I would do is I would go to small conventions, like local conventions, and then there would be companies that would be there, like local retailers and stuff, and they would be selling singles from that game, because when you bought the cardboard box, the I think that they came. I think the card and the model came in like a little Ziploc bag for each model separately, and then that way they could just dump them into a tub, and you could just paw through the tub and be like, "Ooh, I want that guy." And I never wanted them for the Skirmish game. I think I played it a couple of times, but I honestly just wanted the models for no other games. Generally, Song of Blades and Heroes is what I wanted it for. Like the majority of my Song of Blades and Heroes models that I use when I go to conventions to teach other people to play, I'm pretty sure the majority of those are all D&D pre-paints. Cannibal Sector 1 is a mini-game based on an old RPG from the 90s, SLA Industries. Basically a giant toxic zone outside of a giant city full of mutants, cannibal families, war criminals. Let's check that out. Let's see here. I played the D&D game he referenced. It was plastic and a good gateway into the D&D. Had expansions and used a paper map. Yep, paper map and a grid. Just like Star Wars game was the same way. It was a grid-based system, and it was played on a paper map. The Psalm game cover puts me off. I don't like the art. Oh, see, I love the cover. I want that on a t-shirt. Some of the inside art, I'm like, but that cover I think is dope. Necromunda rules are hard to look at. The black text over gray image background on every page. Yes, that is. I've heard that multiple times. And yeah, you need to have a kind of a bright light to read to read the rules for Necromunda. There is a printed paper texture in our book, but it is incredibly light. It's there, and you can see it when you're looking at the book. You're like, oh yeah, it's not just white paper. But I wanted to make it so that you could read the friggin' text. That drives me nuts about the Necromunda books. I know those of you that have watched Andy 2D6 here on YouTube, he and Remington Steele, who the Andy and Rem shows, their live show they do, he and Remington Steele and Annie from Bad Squiddo Games, the three of them were going to get into Necromunda, and then they decided not to because the books are too hard to read. And Andy's not old like me; he's a young guy, and so he's just like, no, I can't read that. It's terrible. That's the one thing they really got to fix with that game is they got to fix that background being way too dark. It is not good. Hey, 52 Miniatures, how you doing? I picked up Dungeoneer's PDF this week on DriveThruRPG. Looks like a really fun dungeon crawler minigame. Cool. I haven't heard of that one, I don't think. Apart from kit bashes, have you got any recommendations for mini lines for Rain in Hell? I mean, honestly, I'd tell you to go look on Etsy. There's a lot of people out there who are 3D printing miniatures from companies that they have a license from that make... I mean, like, you got really cool stuff from Bastarium Miniatures, Rocket Pig Miniatures... Arch Villain is another really good company that does that. So if you don't have a 3D printer yourself, you just go into Etsy and go, hey, this is cool. And a lot of people are... Because what happens is that person who wants to do this as a business, rather than just buying the miniature for their own personal use, like you or I would do, they're paying Rocket Pig, Bastarium, any of those companies, a higher fee with the understanding that they are going to get the STL and then print it and sell it, the printed version to people. They're not going to sell the STL, they're going to sell the printed version to people, and so they're buying a license to do that. And so Etsy's not a bad place to find that stuff. I've actually, like I said, just bought some miniatures from them recently. But otherwise, Mantic has got an entire Abyssal army that would work out pretty well, I think. I've actually picked up some things from them recently to add to a future Cabal. Gosh, who else? I mean, obviously Games Workshop, like if you do want to go with Nurgle type stuff, or if you want to go with, like Bloodletters. I've got 2 Bloodletters in my GW Cabal, but there's a lot of different things you could use. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, honestly. Who else am I thinking of that does demon stuff? There's a decent amount of models, mostly from the faction called Neverborn. And they are for Malifaux, and there's a bunch of really cool models too that you could use as demons as well. That's the thing, is that one of the reasons we went with demons is because demons can be a lot of different things, and a lot of different cultures think of a different thing than we think of in the West, let's say, as an example, when we're talking about demons. Like as an American, I'm thinking about demon, and they're red, and they got a pointy tail and horns, and I don't know, maybe a pitchfork, look a little bit like John Lovitz, and that's fine. But like in Africa, demons are thought of completely differently. In Asia, they're thought of completely differently. So there's a lot of different options that we can use there, and that's, I think, the really cool thing about it, and that's why we went that way. Do you have a preferred recommended airbrush and compressor? I use a, what do I use? I use a Iwata Eclipse for my airbrush. I think it's HP-CS, I believe is the specific name of it. And then the compressor I use is a Sparmax, which I think has 2 X's at the end for reasons. Sparmax TC2000. And I've liked that compressor, has lasted me so far a good long time, and I like it. And I've had that airbrush maybe a decade, but maybe not quite a decade. But I've had it for a good long time, and it's always done me well. I also do frequently use an Iwata Neo, which is a cheaper Iwata brush, and I'll use that sometimes for like varnishes and stuff like that, especially if I'm like, if I don't feel like switching quickly between, like, say, varnishes and paints, I'll use paints with the Eclipse and then varnish something else. I'm not going to usually paint something and then varnish it instantly, but I guess sometimes you might. But yeah, it's only if I'm going to just go into the room and do some varnishing, I'll use my Eclipse. I got no problem with that. But then I'm going in there, I'm going to varnish a bunch of models, and then I'm going to put it back into the cleaner and let it sit. That's fine. But if I'm like, I need to switch between a varnish and a paint, or from a paint to a varnish, I like to use 2 brushes then. It just seems easier. What is Song of Blades and Heroes? You're going to get me hooked to another game, Adam? Song of Blades and Heroes is a very simple fantasy skirmish game by a company called Ganesha Games, or Ganesha Games, depending on how you pronounce it. It's the Indian elephant god thing. Yeah, it's a very super elegant, simple system, but still a lot of fun. I think the PDF is $8 to $10, I think. And you build all your own models and stuff like that, but they also have example lists if you want to go down that road and all that jazz. But it's a very cool, fun little game. It's the game that I go and teach when I go to conventions, like local conventions, and I run miniatures games to like teach people how to play miniatures. I teach them how to play Song of Blades and Heroes. It's a really good system. And again, like I said, it's cheap. You can also get a printed version, print on demand. It's probably $15, $16, something like that. And then they've made a ton of different versions using roughly the same rule set. There's like a version that's all about vampires and zombies and junk like that. There's a version that's all about, post-apocalyptic, and a lot of them have the same kind of naming, Song of such and such, but not all of them. Like the post-apocalyptic one is not called Song of anything. It's just called Mutants and Death Ray Guns. But it should have technically been called Song of Mutants and Death Ray Guns, I suppose, but they didn't do that. And then the one about vampires and werewolves and all that stuff is called Fear and Faith. But there's other ones that are like Song of Drums and Shakos, which is basically like a Napoleonic skirmish game. And there's a bunch of them. So check them out if you're interested. Nightbot never sleeps. He simply waits. Nice. Found my old Badger airbrush paints for 25 years ago. Stuff is still like new. Nice. Last couple of Necromunda books have made the background a bit lighter. I was so thankful. See, I haven't looked at any of the real recent ones, I guess. I think I picked up the book for Artifice, House of Artifice, something like that. I haven't read it yet, though. I'll have to look through it, because that would be nice if they did that. If they could just go back and somehow make it so that all my previous books were also lighter, that would be also cool. I don't know how they would do that. I don't think they can release a patch, sadly. I like your videos, but I don't like the latest negativity you have as Kill Team. Game is not even released. That's still work in progress. A game that's not even released. Well, I have the production version. Like, they sent me the boxes, and it's the finished stuff that you'll get as well. I think punchy headlines are good to add subscribers, but let's wait a bit. I don't know what you want to wait for. Like I said, this is not a pre-production version. They sent me the book or the boxes. It's the final production stuff that they sent me. So yeah, that's what I was using. And I appreciate that you don't necessarily like someone being negative about something, but that's how I felt. I'm a big fan of Kill Team. Have been even before the previous version. Back when the old version, when you still had to use the codex and you still had to use the main rulebook. And then in 2018, when the new version of Kill Team came out, I was super, super happy about it, and I really liked it, and I am very disappointed in the new version. And so that's what I wanted to let people know about. Make your own decision, play what you want, don't get me wrong. But yeah, that's sometimes I'm going to have to be negative. That's just the way it works. That's life. I agree about the Necromunda rulebooks. I have dyslexia, it makes it almost impossible to read. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's a good point. For Rain and Hell miniatures, check out Jamie Corte on Kickstarter. Oh, yeah, there was a Kickstarter. Yeah. There was actually a Kickstarter by a sculptor, who I think that's the right name, who basically was like, oh, I really like Rain and Hell, so I'm going to make a bunch of models that fit with the specific, names of the different types of minions and stuff like that and whatever. And so they sculpted up a bunch of models, which was cool. We reached out to him and we're like, hey, could you just put a little thing in there saying that we're not affiliated with you, like this is independent and whatever, because we didn't go to him, there was no licensing or anything like that, and we were not going to tell him, hey, you can't tell people that you like our game and then make models for it, because again, we didn't use any customizable, copyrightable names. You know what I mean? It was Slaughter Fiend, Corpulent Demon. These are not things that you should really be able to trademark or whatever. I mean, one of the reasons the Games Workshop keeps changing all the names of their models is so that then they don't have to, you know what I mean? So then that way, it's easier to. You can't trademark Dark Elves, but Drakari you can trademark. You see what I'm saying? So that's the thing. So we just basically sent him a thing and said, hey, if you could just put that in there. So he did, and he was very gracious about it, whatever, and everything like that. And I'm pretty sure his Kickstarter funded. But yeah, he was making 3D STLs of different models and things like that. So yeah, you can do a look for that too. SLA Industries is far one the darkest sci-fi game ever made. I highly recommend it if you like cyberpunk settings, but I always thought this needs more Cthulhu. Ooh, that sounds fun. Let's see here. Do you have any suggestions on brush brands or specialty fine detail brushes? My favorite brushes are made by Monument Hobbies. That being said, I am basically a synthetic brush user. So if you're a natural hair brush user, they do make natural hair brushes, and I know Sam is a fan. I don't have anything to compare natural hair brushes back and forth to other brands because I've never really been a natural hair brush user. But synthetic, that's monumenthobbies.com. Especially their new pro synthetic line. They're really cool. I dig them a lot. Mears Miniatures has amazing stuff for Demon Cabals. I keep hearing that name, but I don't think I've ever looked at their website. I probably should. Would you and Vince ever consider doing a hobby tier list for all things related to miniatures for model lines, brands, and types of paints and basing stuff? Let me read that again. Would you and Vince ever consider doing a hobby tier list? I don't think I know what a hobby tier list is. Is that like S, A, B, C, D, F thing? Is that a hobby tier list? Why is it S? Like, is that... I've never understood that. I think, is it a video game thing? I think it's maybe a video game thing. I know I've seen it's like, you got a B. Oh, next time you got an A. Next time you get an S. I don't understand that. I'm old. But yeah, so if that's what you mean, then I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe. Maybe some episode of his show, Warhammer Weekly, maybe we just do a video where we just talk about hobby, just talk about different products and tools and things and stuff that we like. That could be something. I don't know that his audience would be as interested as they would be in the normal Warhammer Age of Sigmar stuff, but you know. Have you looked at the new edition of Dystopian Wars? I haven't. They reached out and said, hey, can we send you some stuff? And I said, no, thank you. I'm not into ships. I'm not too much into ship combat. That's part of the issue, I think, is that I was just like, if I was really into ship combat, I'd be like, yeah, I definitely want to check that out. But I've just never been into ship combat too much. I don't know why. Currently building a generic Asian gaming board using the Sarissa tiles so that it is modular. Will work for a number of periods. Well, that's kind of cool. If you soak your older Necromunda books in bleach, it'll lighten those backgrounds right up. That sounds like trickery to me, is what that sounds like. If it hits the shelves, it ought to not be a work in progress, in my opinion. Yeah, that's a good point. And that's the problem game. That's the problem game in progress. They're pulling now PC games thing. They're going to pitch it again later? I don't know. Or patch it later. Kill Team is going to flop because of whoever at GW has been pushing this horrible make people wait so long for the rules that they hopefully buy a different army release method. I don't think that's the plan. I don't think they're planning on making you wait. They would love to be able to produce everything all at the same time and make you buy all of it at the same time. Certainly. Well, yes and no. Obviously, you want to spread things out because you don't want to get all the money right away and then don't get money later, I guess. But they don't want people to be like, it's taken too long to get my new codex, so I'm going to go do something else. They don't want that either, you know. But they're only, you know, there's a lot of them that work there, obviously, but not enough to be able to produce. Like, there have been people that I've seen, like, when a new edition of, like, let's say 40K comes out, they're like, why don't they just release all the codexes at the same time? And I'm like, do you know how much work goes into every single one of those books? Like, they would need to add 20 times more people to that company to be able to produce all of the books at once, the way that they do them. It's just the way it works. You know, so yeah, I don't know. Let's see here. Poor billion-dollar company gets criticism. Well, you know, that's the way it works sometimes. Having played the original Necromunda back when it was still new and bought the new stuff, I'm back and forth on which I like better. There are things I miss about the old stuff. I mean, that kind of happens with anything to some degree. Like, I'm looking forward to the new Car Wars from Steve Jackson Games, because I used to play Car Wars all the time in college. Now, I've played the new version. Well, I mean, not the production version, but I played... In 2019, I played the beta version that's quite close to the production version. So, you know, things have probably changed, certainly. But as playing it, I'm like, I'm enjoying this, but there's things I miss from the old game. I'll be perfectly honest with you. The new version of Car Wars, if you ever played the old version of Car Wars, wildly different. The new version of Car Wars is very much like X-Wing, to be perfectly honest with you, whereas the old version of Car Wars was very much like Battletech. You had an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper for each car, and you had charts and things, and you had to write stuff down. Oh, I took more damage on this wheel, and this armor on the left side is... And it was a lot of bookkeeping, and now it's more card-oriented, like, this is my flamethrower, and you stick it on this side of the car diagram, little dial thing that you have. It's got a definite X-Wing vibe to it, which I think maybe, at least in this day and age, more people will dig. So there's that. But there was part of me, and I could tell from some of the other guys my age who probably played a bunch back in college, we were like, yeah, but I kind of miss, you know what I mean? And that's just always something that you're going to have, I think, when you change stuff to some degree. And sometimes it's okay, and you can look it over, and then sometimes you're just like, this new game is not for me because I preferred the old style. It's just dependent upon what you want to do. Let's see here. Whoop. Super. Comes from fighting games where S is the highest tier. Super. Or superior. There we go. I thought it was a video game thing. I did. I was on the fence about buying Octarius because of GW practices. Then I saw your video showing how boring it is having no customization. I happily saved myself $200. Again, the custom is the basically no customization is the compendium of the two armies that come in the Octarius box. You can customize them, sort of. Basically, you'll get 14 to 15 different possibilities of models for, let's say, your veteran guardsman, and you have to pick 10. And most of them you can only pick one of, so you can't duplicate, take 3 spotters, let's say. But the regular troopers, you can take as many as you want up until you hit 10, and whatever. So you have that kind of customization just only in those 2 armies that come with Octarius right now. If you go to the book, the compendium, and you want to start customizing stuff, there's far less customization in those because it is basically just a stopgap until they start releasing the new boxes for the Space Marines, for the Eldar, for the this, for the that, whatever. Yeah. S is snake tier. Ooh. Let's see here. Like you, Tabletop Minions, I have a few jobs, so sometimes I have to work on one and listen in while working. Just got done with a big photography project. Nice. It's probably why you didn't like Armada. It's basically ship-to-ship combat with Star Wars theme. That's also a good point. That's also a good point. Yep. Like fighters, I didn't mind so much. Like again, Star Wars X-wing. I dug that. That was fine. Retromunda is free PDF online. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's not legal. Let's just get down to brass tacks. Like it's not. Games Workshop didn't go, oh, here's the free version of the old. But yeah. Steve Jackson Games has been teasing an announcement for weeks. Any idea what it's about? No. Honestly, these days I'm really only interested in Car Wars from them. I've never been a big Munchkin fan. I mean, I liked it when there was the one game before all the expansions. Maybe once there was like 2 expansions. We would play from time to time with friends and things like that. And it's a fun little card game and stuff like that. But I've not... So the new Car Wars is Chasing Gaslands. I think it's honestly a response, albeit now it's very very slow, but that's also pandemic to blame for that. But it was, I think, a response to both Gaslands and X-wing. Frankly, I think that they were. But Gaslands was probably definitely some sort of a poke to be like, hey, car games are popular again. That kind of thing. What are your thoughts on Necromunda? I think it's cool. It's kind of hard to read the books. We were just talking about that because the gray background with the black text. But otherwise, I like it. I love the models. I own a good portion of the models. But I, frankly, early on was using them just for kit bashing and doing other stuff. But now I'm working on a Vansar gang, because I've got a couple of friends that are hopefully someday after this pandemic gets over, we're going to get together and play. So that'll be fun. You know what I should do? I should look at eBay. That's kind of the whole point of today's show, isn't it? I mean, it was. All right, so there's eBay, right? That's how it looks. Going to buy me a ceiling fan. No. So like I said, I've had this itch lately. I kind of want to get something. I want to have a project to work on. And I had a show on the channel that I've done a couple of times, and it was called Uncle Adam's Miniature Hot Mess. And it was basically me going onto eBay and finding something, but I haven't done it in years and years. And I've been thinking about doing it recently. So, but I have no idea what I'm looking for. These are not what I'm looking for. There's a painted, let's see here. We got ourselves a Blood Raven painted Dreadnought. Nah. Not sure if I'm interested in bidding either. I'm looking for something where I can just buy it now sort of situation. At least that's the plan. Pre-owned Legion of the Damned. Oh, that's... Alright, that's... Yeah. I can't tell if that's not a... I think that's a bad photo. I'm pretty sure that's a bad photo. It probably looks pretty decent when you look at it, in person, but it's very potentially not a good photo. Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the concept, but I got to be honest, is that right now I'm not particularly... when I had this idea for this is what I should do for the show or whatever tonight, because I like to have some sort of subject, even though it's predominantly just a chat show, and that's fine. I just don't know sometimes. Right now, I can't think of anything I need, especially from this. I don't know if this is the right terminology. If used Warhammer is what I should be typing, or if I should be typing something else. What if I just type in Stargrave? What if I do that? Stargrave. Because sometimes people will post things and say, oh, this will work great for Stargrave and this and this and this, and okay, what is a box of mercenaries? I already have those. Stargrave Imperial Guard Beastmen. The heck are those? The heck are these? Is there a description? Big Mr. Tong. Print license. Printed in Anycubic Photon. Oh, okay. So these are 3D prints from somebody. They're, yeah, no. I don't... I love goat people. Don't get me wrong. Goat people, beastmen, they're cool. these poses are so static, though. You know what I mean? That's not my jam. All right. Let's see here. We got some extras. No, I got that because I bought the sets from them and they sent along some extra stuff, including these metal models. I'm going to use one of these as a hacker. I've already got a hacker for my current set, but for when I do another group, I'm going to use one of those metal ones for the hacker. Loot, yeah, I got that. Yeah. Oh, what's this? Oh, these are painted? No, can't zoom in. All right then. So it's just somebody pre-painted a bunch of troopers. Huh. All right. Well, you know. Wait, what's this? Oh, Astra Militarum. All right. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know about y'all. I like to go onto eBay from time to time and be like, oh, this will be kind of interesting. Huh. Men in Black, huh? Are these pre-painted? Let's see here. 5 miniatures for skirmishing, metal supplied unpainted. Okay, well that's not too bad. They're metal. Again, not necessarily great for Stargrave, but interesting to check out. You know what I mean? So yeah, corporate babes. No, thank you. Scavenger heroes. These are weird looking. That's not what I think of when I think of Stargrave, but you know, anyway. Ooh, got a weird building there. Got some cyberpunk lawmen. I mean, these are not pre-painted, I guess, so there's that too. I don't know. I like the concept. Ooh, that's $108. Cool looking spaceship though. That's pretty cool. You don't technically need to have a spaceship for your crew in Stargrave, but a lot of people, it seems lately, are like, I like to have that, like my shuttle be a piece of terrain kind of on the board. So that's like where we start from, is from the shuttle. We're coming out and doing the, you know, the particular scenario and stuff like that. And I've got a, I don't know what the heck, Star Wars Legion, this new vehicle they produced that kind of looks for all intents and purposes like a space bus. I bought one of those, and I'm going to build one of those and beat it up real bad and add a bunch of greeblies and junk to it to make it look like a crappy old shuttle that my crew flies down and lands with. But this is a neat looking ship though. Not $108 neat looking, I don't think. It is pretty cool looking though. It must be massive. Well, that's a good question. I guess I should check. And shipping would cost $40 just alone because it's in the UK. So yeah. I think because I didn't type in used or something like that, it's I'm not getting a ton of good bonuses here. I don't know. I find with eBay that if I'm like, I need a vampire lord. Let's say I type in Warhammer vampire and just see what I get. Sure, you're going to get a bunch of like, this stuff's in sprue, this stuff's still in the box, but every once in a while you're going to get something like this necromancer here who is just unpainted, but it looks like maybe poorly put together. So that's maybe a bit of a rescue, a bit of a project there. Oh, this is old school. That's almost got detail on it. I think it's the photo really more than anything. There's definitely a head on that guy and he's holding a skull. That's kind of cool. But he's not painted either, so that's not really much of a... got a bunch of things that came out of Crimson Court. Age of Sigmar, Soulblight, Gravelords. That's just... What is that? Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on what you're looking for. But I find that if you know the name of the model specifically that you're looking for and you want to get one, then it's a little bit better to, you know, to go down that road. And then, like, you know, if I decided I wanted these really old, really, really, really old, like, what's going on with that guy's sword? That's not right. Anyway, I don't know. They can't all be bangers. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes eBay is just like, nope, not really. Got Von Karstein here. Like, that's a model that could maybe be fixed up. That is some thick paint. I'll tell you what, though. That is, I don't know. Oh, not $55. No, thank you. No, I don't need that. Yeah, so I don't know. Not a lot of necessarily good coming out of that today, but we'll see. I guess maybe like I said, I kind of want to do. I want to take a run back at some of those particular, like that show, like the miniature hot mess. I'd like to take an attempt at that. I'd like to do the hobby progress vlog as well on something coming up soon as well, just to give it a try. Mr. Big Mr. Tong made those Beastmen. He has a Patreon campaign. There you go. Google Archon Studios minis. They had some awesome Stargate-style Lizard Warriors in a Kickstarter a while ago. Nice. You need to get your 3D printer up and running. Yeah, I know, man. I know. Do you ever just troll around Thingiverse to look for STL files for miniatures and terrain? Not for like a really long time. Thingiverse, I find it to be more miss than hit, and it's partially just because it's free. You know what I mean? Like, because everything in it is, well, not everything. Most of the things in it are free. You kind of get what you pay for, which is why I like... for terrain, it's a slightly different story sometimes, but for miniatures specifically, I've never really found a good-looking miniature from Thingiverse, but to be fair, I have not been back in a while because I always look at my mini factory instead. And then you're buying a miniature and it costs maybe $5 or something like that or whatever, but you get like good, I think generally good stuff. It does look Red Dwarfy, I agree. That sword is rough, I agree. There are a few Stargrave scenarios that call for some vehicles placed either as derelict vehicles for terrain or as actual moving ships as part of the scenario. Yeah, that's true. $55 pro-painted masterpiece right there. Yeah, that's always the joke about Kill Team, or not Kill Team. Sorry, it's always the joke about eBay is the whole pro-painted situation. Yeah. Been able to get 85 Craft World Guardians for £67 in multiple purchases. That's not bad. See, like you can find stuff on eBay. There are every once in a while some gems you can definitely find. Like that, the last Uncle Adam's Hot Mess, which was that vampire that I did. And he was metal, but he was the vampire model that has like he's got like one arm holding a sword and his other arm is all giant, huge bat wing that he's got way up over his head. It's a weird pose, but it's sort of iconic, at least in within the Warhammer Fantasy stuff, and you can still use that model obviously in Age of Sigmar, all that kind of jazz. And I liked using him. I did not like his head, so I put a different head on him, but it was part of the project. But that was something I found on eBay, and then just dipped it into the old LA is totally awesome, and man, that paint just fell off. It was spectacular. You need to bust out the ultrasonic. Oh yeah, no yeah, that. LA is totally awesome, and the ultrasonic that cleaned him up. Like literally, when I pulled him out of the goop, the paint just fell off, and then there was still a bit of white primer, and then I put it underwater in the tap, and that washed away the majority of the white primer, and then I just took my toothbrush and just got into some of the nooks and the crannies, and then yeah, that pretty much that he was clean as a whistle very quickly, which was awesome. I bought a lot of Space Marine stuff a few years ago and ended up soaking the Land Raider in Simple Green for months. Yeah, I've never had great luck with Simple Green. LA is totally awesome from the dollar store, though. It's bright yellow, comes in like a 32-ounce bottle for $1, and it works great. You really have to rinse well, though, after you're done, because if you don't, if there's still some of that still on whatever your model is, nothing will stick to it. Primer will just flake off of it. Paint will flake off of it. You have to wash it real good once you've soaked it. But again, just take a different old toothbrush, run it under the tap, and just scrub pretty good. And, models aren't that big, so it shouldn't take you that long. But you definitely want to make sure you don't have any of that stuff dried on there when you start to do things, because stuff won't stick to it. Metals are always a safer bet on eBay just because you can break them down easily. With plastics, you gamble with the build being garbage regardless of the paint quality. That's very true, too. I mean, Lord knows I've gotten stuff off of eBay and then been like, wow, I'm going to have to be scraping mold lines for quite a while on this, pre-built model. And sometimes it's nice to save yourself the time. Like I bought some Spirit Hosts, the Games Workshop Spirit Hosts for Age of Sigmar. I bought a set of 3 of those that were already pre-built and poorly primed because I knew I didn't want to build them because they're a pain in the butt to build. And so I bought them pre-built, and I had to go scrape mold lines and then just reprime them, and then it was fine. So that worked out well. Yeah. We'll look at eBay to score like a handful of figures to complete some project and have been lucky at it so far. I also find if you find a lot, just some sort of lot of cheap models, it's nice to just have cheap models around to practice on sometimes. You're like, I wonder if this would work. And then you do it on something you don't care about. And you're like, oh, no, it doesn't. Or, oh, that actually was really cool. And it's nice to have practice models to work on. Some people will work on plastic army men, but like I will usually I bought a big lot of Space Marines many years ago. And I'll just, pull one out and prime it and then try the thing on it to see if it works from time to time. So, yeah. Nail polish remover is the best for metal minis. Yes, it's very flammable, so watch out for that. Kind of bad fumes, but very flammable, I believe. So if you have like really, really, really something troublesome in your metal minis, then yes. Do not put resin or plastic minis into nail polish remover. That will go real poorly for you. So we're going to end today's show on a safety note. Do not drop a match into your nail polish remover, and don't use it on plastic or resin. Metal, it's fine. Wear gloves or something though when you're doing it. So I want to thank everybody for coming by today. It was mostly just a chat day, just sort of eked in the meager kind of subject of the show under the line there, but it was fine. So if you're interested, go look on eBay. Maybe find something fun and strip the paint off of it and give yourself a fun project. Usually inexpensive. It's best, though, if you do know what you're looking for, though. If you just go there and just type in used Warhammer, you're going to find a bunch of trash and a bunch of stuff that's probably not used either, really. It's weird. But, yeah, give it a try. See what you think. And I want to thank everybody for coming by today, hanging out, and chatting. We will see you folks in another 2 weeks, ? Yes. What's today's date? I think so, yes. There will probably at some point coming up soon, maybe not next show, but the show after, there will be some sort of probably time change or something because, in theory, I'm technically actually going to travel because I'm going to be going to Gen Con. We'll see how things go. I'm going to have to bring masks. I'm going to have to bring... we'll see. They may still cancel it. I don't know. We'll see. But just to know that, I've been running on a real nice schedule of every other Sunday for 18 months now because I haven't been going anywhere, obviously. And that may change. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, so yeah, we'll keep an eye and we'll let you know. We'll put it on Twitter and Facebook and, wherever. But yeah, so thanks to everybody for coming by again. And if you're interested, you can come check me out on Twitch tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central. Watch me paint a big robot. Well, not that big. He's a dreadnought, but still. 7 p.m. Central Time on twitch.tv/tabletop minions, and maybe we'll see you there. So, again, have a good day, have a good rest of your weekend, and we'll see you later. Thanks for watching.